Food plots have been a management technique for generations. Big or small, you can apply different methods to achieve the same goal: food for the wildlife on your property. Today we are going to break down some of the different planting methods that we have used over the years and the results of each. All right guys, we're back out here on our farm in Indiana County, and we've been able to spend a lot of time out here over the past 2 months getting our grain put in. We have a lot of corn, a lot of beans. We got some early season brassicas. So where I'm standing right now, we have about a 3/4 acre. It's basically a round plot. We're gonna use this for archery hunting primarily. We have a spot picked out already for a bank blind behind us that we'll put up later next week. But these spokes behind us are gonna get a fall annual plot in them. It's gonna be great for rifle hunting. One of the spokes, after it's killed, it's just gonna sit and it's gonna wait, and we're gonna use the no-till drill to put in our fall plot in there. The other spoke, what we're gonna do starting today is I have a chisel plow here behind me. I'm gonna be chisel plowing this soil, then I'm gonna come back over what we chisel plowed, and we're gonna use a disc on there to break it up even further. Once we have it broken up, we're gonna let it dry, let it green back up, spray it again with Roundup, maybe do a final disking on it, and then on this spoke, we're gonna come into it and we're gonna do some hand broadcasting like we used to do all the time. And the second method on this spoke is gonna be, we're gonna use a Brillion, where the Brillion will actually cultipack the soil, drop our seed in place, and cultipack it after. So we're getting a firm seed bed and we're covering our seed. So a lot of different applications gonna go on here, and I think we're gonna have the same result. And it's up to you to determine what method is gonna be best for you. All right guys, now that I have a few passes through this field, I wanted to show you why they call it a chisel plow. If you're probably used to the big 3-bottom plows, the moldboard plows, which are gonna get down a lot deeper in your soil and turn over a lot more and give you a lot more work to actually disc that field up. This is about as old of a piece of farm equipment as you're gonna find. It's been around forever. But look here, we have it set, we're going down about 6 to 8 inches. We're getting all that sod turned over, and we're getting to see for the first time this soil. We got really good soil in here, not many rocks. And I'm not finding that hard pan that I was sort of afraid we might have in here, down that 4 to 6 to 8 inches. It's really nice. We're gonna go ahead and finish chisel plowing this field, finishing this end, and again, letting it sit. I have time today. I could come back and disc this field, but we're not gonna get a very good disking when these clumps, this sod and this topsoil that's here are still wet. Given a chance to dry for a few days, the wind hitting this and the sun hitting this, it's gonna disc up a lot better in a few days and take a lot fewer passes. Okay guys, so it's only been 1 day since we were out here and chisel plowed this plot, and you can see with the hot weather and the wind, it's already dried up this field tremendously here. It's gonna make it much better for disking today. You can see how much easier that crumbles up than it did yesterday. Now, what we're gonna do is make a couple passes on this and show you what we can change the texture of this soil. You can see the big clumps here right now. This field is obviously not ready for any type of seed, let alone our brassicas and our clovers, which are a real fine seed and only need a little bit of coverage. We could have skipped running the chisel plow in here altogether, but we took 1 pass with the chisel plow, and now we're probably gonna need 2 to 3 passes with the disc. And if we skipped running the chisel plow in here, I would imagine we probably had 8 or 9 or even 10 passes with the disc at that point. Okay guys, I wanted to hop out of the tractor real quick and show you the difference between 1 pass over this with a disc and what we started with after the chisel plow. As you can see here, we still have all the big chunks of sod this old dead grass with the sod on it that we had from the chisel plow. And over here, we're starting to break that down on one pass. We're starting to get somewhat level, knocking these humps down, picking out a few rocks as we go, but it's a lot better than we have over here. We're probably still another 1 to 2 passes on this yet till we get it ready for the next step, which is going to be Cul-de-packing. Whether we're broadcasting it by hand or running our Brilliant on here, we want to Cul-de-pack this first. With the Brilliant, obviously, we Cul-de-pack in one swipe, we drop the seed, and we Cul-de-pack behind it. When we're hand broadcasting, we're going to use a single Cul-de-packer, Cul-de-pack this to give us a good firm seed bed. We're going to hand broadcast it and then come back over top of it again with a Cul-de-packer. Remembering, this entire time, this spoke is sitting dormant over here. We're not taking any tractor runs over it, we're not burning any fuel, we're not wasting any time. We're going to come in here with a no-till drill and drill that with the same crop that we're putting in over here. All right, guys, well, it's been about a week since we were out here and finished disking up this plot. We were able to come back in and spray this spoke with glyphosate again. We had a lot of rain between now and then. We're not sure how good of a take we got. We see a lot of green grass in here yet. We're going to go ahead and drill it. We are just putting annuals in the spokes here, so we're going to go ahead and drill this one today. And if we get a chance, we'll come back in and spray another round of glyphosate on this before we get germination. But if not, I'm not really concerned about that. We're putting an annual crop in here. It's going to come up and all the growth is going to be above the surface here, and it's going to help shade that out. But we're going to take it out next year anyway, so a little bit of weed competition isn't really going to bother me for a hunting purpose. So again, the plan here is today we're going to be planting both of these spokes in an annual crop. We're actually going to be using this Mega Plot mix from Evolved Harvest, which has in it, we have wheat, forage oats, turnips, and some annual clover. We want to put these in here basically for a rifle setup for gun season, late season. We have corn at the top of the hill. We're going from green to grain. And now in this hub behind us, we're going to be putting an annual crop in here of clover with the brassica on top of it. So we're going to have the brassica for this fall to hunt over. We're going to have a Banks blind put up over here. We're going to be hunting archery out of that, hopefully, over our brassica and even into gun season. And that clover is going to be there really good for us come spring. We'll probably come back in here and frost seed this end of this again, but we'll have these 2 spokes to once again put an annual in here. So 3 applications. The whole point of this episode is to show you 3 different applications. We're going to be hand seeding some of this Mega Plot in this spoke, about half of it, and then we're going to be using the Brilliant to finish seeding that side, and we're going to no-till drill this entire spoke today. We're going to be putting the same mix in both of these with 3 different applications, and hopefully be able to come back in here in a few weeks and show you how they compare to each other. So a few things that I want to mention is that each of these planting methods require a different level of commitment. If you want a very in-depth description of the different planting methods to decide which one will best fit your application, head over to an earlier episode of the off-season that we did alongside Kip Adams from the National Deer Association and Dr. Craig Harper from the University of Tennessee. But for today, we have half of this spoke planted with the Brilliant and the other half Cul-de-packed, hand broadcast, and then Cul-de-packed again. Now this spoke has been completely left alone during this process except the spread. And now we'll go ahead and implement the no-till drill on this entire spoke. And that's it. All we have left to do now is get a Banks blind put in here. So let's fast forward and have Austin show you the blind install.
Well guys, I'm over our Indiana farm today. You know, Jerry sort of took you through the entire process from clearing it, spraying it, killing it, disking it up, and the last time they were over here they planted it, which it's coming up nicely. I see some oats, some brassica in there, so the Evolved Harvest blend is coming in great. But today we're going to be putting the finishing touches sort of on this little hub and spoke spot and putting this Banks blind up. I mean, that's the last piece of the puzzle. We're going to put it up and then it's ready to hunt. There's food in different stages all over the place. We got, like I said, a nice oat brassica plot leading up to some corn on top. It's just going to be a fun sit here. Yeah. I've got some concrete settling in those leg posts, perfectly level, and we're ready for fall. I mean, like I said, this is an awesome little secluded brassica plot in the back end of all these big crop fields. Plenty of bedding on all sides of this, so you know that first cold front of the year, those deer are going to be hammering this.
Well, with all the summer work done and Austin putting his Banks blind up, it was up to me to wait for a cold front to come out here and get the first sit. Blood, sweat, and tears we put into this farm all summer long, up to the point that we put this Banks blind in, comes down to this, the enjoyment, the fun part of hunting. It's our first sit out here on the farm. We got a cold front hitting us. This is October 18th. I got the honor of coming over here and nutting out of this blind for the first time. We're really here on doe control tonight, but if a good saw something coming back through the woods there. Yeah. Let's take her. You have everything you want turned on. She just went down, and we have just harvested our first deer ever here on our Indiana County farm. It's a doe, but man, I appreciate every deer we were able to harvest. And that felt good, knowing that everything we did on this farm this year just came together in an instant for us. Man, that was awesome. We have some DMAP tags and some regular doe tags, and that is doe number 1 for the year for me. It feels good. We're gonna get some meat in the freezer, help this population, and then get Jason some bucks. Well, what a way to wrap up this project. Now let's talk about the results we got from each of our planting methods. First, we have our hand broadcasted section and the Brilliant section. We really didn't observe much difference in the results, which was expected. However, the Brilliant is much more effective if you are planting larger plots. So the decision will be up to you based on how much tillable ground you are working with, as well as your budget. Now on to the no-till drill section. This is by far the most efficient method since we didn't have to prep the soil before planting. Now if you remember earlier in the episode, I referenced going back in after we planted the no-till drill section to do one final spraying before we had germination. Well, that didn't happen, and it proved to be a mistake because we've had more broadleaf competition than we would have liked, and that affected the results. If you are new to food plotting or looking to explore different methods, we hope you learned something, and as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again on the next episode of The Off Season.